The game is over, and now it's time to break down another showdown for Kyle Whittingham and the Utes.
Kansas tight ends have 8 touchdown catches this season. That's Gruen in the slot. He's in motion. That was eye candy. Highshaw with the first touchdown of the game, fittingly on senior day. Utah empties it out. RPO, Buchanan wide open across the middle. J.J. Buchanan with a 58-yard touchdown. Daniels. Did he get the push? Rule the touchdown. Nice run here. Oh, hold on a second. Kansas ripped it away. And it's Jayhawk football. 2 tight ends in the game. Daniels, chased by Dillon. Toward the end zone, ill-advised, and it's picked off. Jackson Benny with his 4th interception. Going quickly. Dampier takes a shot. Simmons, touchdown! Utah back on top. Deshaun Williams in the game. Daniels, quick run, picked off. Pickett wasn't looking. Elijah Davis across midfield. He's got blockers. Davis cuts it across the length of the field for a pick 6. His 2nd pick 6 of the year. Down the seam, caught by Cure for a touchdown. Parker comes in motion. Dampier looks to throw. He's got a man wide open. Caught by Simmons. Touchdown! Utah went for the haymaker.
This is the Ute Postgame Show on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome into the Ute Post Game Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza Alex Napoles, with me to break down Utah's 10th win of the season. Another close one, Alex, a game that should not have been as close as it was, but nonetheless, Utah picks up win number 10. Like I said, 31-21 over Kansas, wrapping up the regular season with a win, and now their Big 12 championship and college football playoff hopes lie in the hands of other teams. They've done everything they can. They got wins, and now they just got to sit back and watch.
And I think that's the most important thing, right, is being able to go out there and finish off the season with a win. Wasn't, I think, anywhere near probably what the performance that the coaching staff wanted from both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball for Utah today. But most importantly, man, you get the win. And most importantly, now you give yourself a fighting chance for whatever the possibilities may be for however the rest of the games go.
Through the first couple series of this game, I was like, oh, Utah's going to run away with this thing, because they picked off Jalen Daniels on the first drive of the game for Kansas. And then 3 plays in a row, they go Wayshawn Parker, 34-yard run. Wayshawn Parker, 15-yard run. Wayshawn Parker, 7-yard run. That's over 50 yards of offense, 50 rushing yards for Wayshawn Parker right off the bat. And then that drive stalls out, and they settle for a field goal. I was expecting a much bigger game from Parker, especially after those first 3 carries. But he finished the day with 12 carries for 95 yards, which isn't bad by any means. He also did have the big catch and run, 1 catch for 32 yards. But it's just weird how quickly Utah came back down to earth, and definitely not what I was expecting after last week's performance. I thought this team was going to be fired up, ready to go. I thought the defense was going to dominate. Now, they did have 3 takeaways, including a pick 6 from Scooby Davis, which is awesome, right? You'll take 3 interceptions any day of the week, but they continue to get just brutalized on the ground. 51 carries for 290 yards for Kansas, Alex. And I mean, thankfully the regular season is over, because it really seems like this Utah defense is falling apart. And I don't know what the issue is. It's not like, I mean, I get John Henry Daly's out, but it's not like they are losing a ton of starters on defense. This should not be happening.
Right. These are the guys who, for the most part, right, except John Henry Daly, who's now unfortunately out for the rest, or was going to be out for the rest of the year, and so it's most of the players, it's most of the guys that were dominant in stopping the run prior to the bye week, and then you get to the bye week, you get to the Kansas State game specifically. Obviously, we saw what Kansas State did to Utah, and then credit to Kansas for having a similar game plan where you just want to attack the run, and you were going to continue to keep attacking the run until they stopped you. I do want to give credit to the defense, of course, because you come up with some massive interceptions that really change the dynamic and the complexity of the game. However, you still struggle on the run, but the defense does clamp up and make some good stops and make some big plays when you needed them the most. But the run is certainly something that I think, if there was another game, I think that would be a concern number one for me when it comes to this Utah team.
Kansas had 2 players break 100 yards rushing. Daniel Hishad Jr., 22 carries for 100 yards, 107 yards and a touchdown. And then LaShawn Williams, 15 carries for 104 yards. As a team, they averaged 5.7 yards per carry. And it's, again, like they're not going to change anything scheme-wise. They're not going to change anything personnel-wise this late in the season. But you're right. It's after that bye week. Like Baylor threw the ball around all over this Utah defense, and I don't know why it's happening, why they're collapsing over these last 2 games, but nothing about this represents Utah football. This was a team we talked about this morning. Going into last week's game, they were number 2 in the entire Big 12 conference in stopping the run. Number 2. They gave up almost 500 rushing yards last week, almost 300 yards today. It's just very, very uncharacteristic. This is not Utah football. This is not what Kyle Whittingham has won games with for over 20 years. This is not what Morgan Scalley wants to do on the defensive side. And I get they won, and that's what matters, but I don't want to go as far as to call it embarrassing. That's a little dramatic, but like, I think that wraps it up when I say this does not represent Utah football at all. And I don't want to repeat myself there, but that's simply what it is.
It is. It's a little bit over dramatic, and I think that would be the conversation, of course, if Utah doesn't pull out the win that they did against Kansas State last week, and they don't pull out the win today the way that they did against Kansas. But I think, again, you do enough to win. You do enough to get by and get another win in that win column for Utah. But if there was more games and if there was more things coming up for Utah, there would be more concern. But we'll see what their fate holds. They're obviously going to make some sort of a bowl game if the playoff and if the Big 12 championship aren't on the line for Utah anymore. They'll make some sort of bowl game, and so I mean, you have a little bit of time to adjust, and we'll see what comes down the line for Utah. But it's not Utah football. It's not what Morgan Scalley. It's not even what Utah was doing before the bye week. Before the bye week, we talked about it this morning, Christian. Before the bye week, this was a Utah team who was number 2 in the conference at stopping the run, and now all of a sudden you have a really hard semblance of getting anything stopped when it comes to the other team rushing the ball on you.
They're just getting out physical, which is really weird. I don't know if it's just been a long season and guys physically can't keep up with this anymore, but the defense is getting pushed around. I mean, the defensive linemen are getting blown back off the line. The linebackers are not in the right spot. I don't want to point at any singular guy. I mean, there's multiple linebackers on the field at once, and it seems like they're just in the wrong spot and over pursuit and not knowing where to be. And I don't know if, it's not trusting the guy next to you, and everybody's kind of trying to overcompensate a little bit. It's too hard to speculate on that without being in the huddle and knowing the defensive play calls, right? But all I know is watching this game, like one time against Kansas State, it's like, okay, that can be a fluke. Like whatever, they're going to bounce back. But then 2 games in a row now, that's a big Utah red flag. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It's just it's bad. And as they mentioned today on the broadcast, like not who you want representing the Big 12 in the championship game. You would not want to see this team in the college football playoff. The door is not closed to those avenues. I know there are probably a lot of people listening and watching that do want to know their chances because, yes, finishing the regular season with 10 wins is a big deal. And that should give you avenues for postseason play beyond the bowl game. So going over that a little bit, yes, the easiest way to the Big 12 champion, or their only way to the Big 12 championship right now, is Texas Tech losing at West Virginia. Arizona State has to beat Arizona, and BYU has to win at home against UCF. So not completely out of the picture, but still a long shot, and you're banking on other teams. But regardless, like we're kind of saying here, man, if Utah does somehow end up making it to Arlington, it would be a rematch against BYU. And do you really want this team going there? And I mean, obviously, yeah, you do, but like, would you be worried about that? And I think I would be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, considering we obviously watch closely both games, considering that we do both the post games for the Utes and the Cougars, but considering what we've seen from LG Martin over the course of the last couple of weeks, that would be a massive, massive concern. And so, yes, if Utah were, if things fall, if the dominoes fall in Utah's favor and Utah were to make it to that championship game, there would be massive concern on my part. And I'm sure there would be massive concern from you fans out there, considering what we've seen in the rush, in the run defense the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's so out of sorts for Morgan Scalley and for Kyle Whittingham and this Utah defense as a whole. But again, they do get the win, and they don't win this game without the three massive takeaways. One of them in the end zone, another one for sure in the red zone. And then I think Smith Snowden's was like in the red zone or right on the border of being in there. So those are, I mean, not only are they takeaways, Alex, but they are takeaways on drives where Kansas is thinking that they have points, right? So that's huge. And I do want to give credit to those guys, Smith, Snowden, Jackson, Benny, and Scooby Davis for coming up with those plays, because those are huge. And truthfully, those are the plays that turn the tide of this game. I mean, 3 interceptions for a sixth-year quarterback, that's going to lose you the game. And unfortunately for Kansas, that's what has happened to them over these past 2 years, especially. That's why they have lost a lot of these games.
I think ultimately, I give credit to that Utah defense for being a little bit bend but don't break. You come up with some big stops in the red zone. You come up with those big turnovers, and you're able to stop Jalen Daniels on that offense at good times, at opportune times. Obviously, they get the 3 touchdowns on the Utah defense, but without those interceptions, especially without that pick 6, you're talking about a different ball game. And so I do. Despite the struggles in the running game and despite the struggles of allowing Kansas to move the ball downfield at times, you do clamp up and you do make the plays in the red zone where it matters the most, where it counts the most. You're able to force those turnovers, and you're able to get the ball back and deny Kansas those points. It felt like there were moments, especially when the game was 10-14, Kansas up 10-14. There was moments for Kansas to take some opportunities, man, and be able to take a lead, extend their lead, I should say. But Utah's defense, again, coming up when they needed them the most. And I think that obviously makes a huge difference. And that's probably, that is the reason why Utah's able to pull away with the 31-21 win.
I need to know why Wayshawn Parker only had 12 carries today. Like watching that first Utah drive, we talked this morning, like Wayshawn Parker was like 160 yards away from a 1,000-yard season.
Yeah.
And I was kind of asking, okay, like, they're aware of that. Are they going to feed him the ball and try and help him get there? And then they start off the game with 3 straight running plays to Wayshawn Parker, and he goes for 57 yards. And it's like, okay, I think they're really going to try and do that. 3 carries on the first drive and then only 9 the entire rest of the game. And that doesn't make sense to me, especially when he was being efficient, right? 7.9 yards per carry is what he finished the day with. And I know there were a couple plays where he kind of got stopped a little bit without breaking away for a run, but Utah knows to establish your running attack, you need to keep going at it, especially with this offensive line, especially with Wayshawn Parker and what he can do. It seems like they kind of abandoned the run today and tried to force the ball through the air, which is really peculiar to me because that's not who Devin Dampier is. That's not what this offense needs to do. That it's just backwards. It's
Yeah.
backwards, and
Yeah.
it's not how you get the most out of this Utah team. And look, who am I, right? But I mean, we've watched 11 other games this season when that's when they're at their best, is when they're running the freaking football.
And I think ultimately that's why it felt like the offense today was out of mix and clunky at times. It wasn't a clean performance on offense either. Give them a lot of credit, because in the second half, specifically in the fourth quarter, it seemed like finally some momentum was going Utah's way, and then they were running the ball well, and they were moving it down the field well. But for the majority of the game, it felt like the offense was out of sorts. They were out of rhythm. A lot of there was a couple times where the Wildcat package comes out, right? So the direct snap to Wayshawn Parker, but the ball ends up on the turf. There was the moment where Devin Dampier is looking over to his left or his right. I can't remember which direction, but he's looking away from the huddle. He's looking away from the line, and the ball is snapped, and the ball ends up on the turf, right? And there was a couple moments like that throughout the game where it just seemed like the offense was out of rhythm. They were out of sorts. But like I said, luckily they were able to figure it out in the fourth quarter. They started moving it well. They started to feel more like Utah football, and that's when they were really able to put this game away.
Yeah, man, I just would have. It's weird because I do like some of what we saw through the air. I think Devin Dampier had some excellent passes today, including to Simmons.
Yes.
Multiple, right? And I actually really like the play that they have been doing, where it's essentially a play action play, right? Faking the run and then going through the air, but instead of faking a handoff, you're faking a QB run, right? Devin Dampier tucks the ball and puts his head down. Then last second he pops up and throws it over the middle. And we saw that. I can't remember if it was last week or a couple of weeks ago, but it's been working and I really like it. And it worked again today. Now, we did see on the first touchdown of the game, they were trying to, the broadcast, the analyst was saying that it should have been called for an illegal man blocking downfield because the offensive line sometimes gets so far up. And that's something Utah needs to be careful for. But I think that really works. And that's how you utilize a guy like Devin Dampier as a passer. But 25 pass attempts from Dampier to only 12 carries from your best running back, a guy that was really hot coming into this one. I don't get it, man. I don't. And look, they win by 10. I honestly feel like this game wouldn't have been this close if they had just stuck to their game plan. I don't know. They need the style points, and that's why it matters. Like normally I would be like, okay, who cares? A win's a win. But they already dropped the spot after last week's close win, a game that should not have been close at all. So they know style points matter. And anybody that was watching this game, I mean, it's a 10 a.m. game on a Black Friday. Like a lot of people were watching this one. And when I say people, I mean important people, like the College Football Playoff Committee, right? So anybody watching this game and seeing that Utah is keeping it close, like they're in a dogfight with a 5-6 Kansas team. It's like, yeah, that's not how that should be going.
It's not. And I think, ultimately, like I said, it is important for you to come out and you get the win, but you do miss out on style points. You do miss out on, I mean, it was kind of clear after the BYU loss and especially after the Colorado win that I think if Utah wanted any chance and wanted to build any momentum of finding themselves to be able to get the chance into making it into the college football playoff, they were going to have to boat race some teams. They're going to have to boat race continuously and consistently. And you missed out on that last week, and you kind of missed out on that again this week, right? A 31-21 win over Kansas. It's a win. You'll take the win, I think, any day of the week, but you do miss out on the chance for the style points and to kind of send that message to the committee of saying, hey, we deserve to be there and to be in. So I'm again curious, similar to the conversation we had last week, curious to see how the committee sees this win for Utah.
Yeah, and I mean, either way, I don't think it matters. Yeah. I don't see them making, the at-large bids.
Yeah.
So now at this point, their best way to the college football playoff is winning the Big 12 championship. Is so funny because just 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh, Utah shouldn't even want to go to the Big 12 championship. Their best way at the playoff would be kind of sneaking in past BYU. But at this point, with the way things have gone, that's not the case. If you're Utah, the only way you can make the college football playoff is if you get to Arlington and beat BYU there, which would be, I mean, that would be a hell of a game, right? But it's a long shot. You're counting on 3 other games to go a certain way. One of those would be a huge upset with Texas Tech at West Virginia, although West Virginia has been playing pretty well as of late. But either way, it's just at the end of the day, at the end of the season, 10 wins for Kyle Whittingham after kind of the disasters that we've seen the past 2 seasons. That's what needs to be applauded. Getting this team back to double-digit wins is a phenomenal bounce-back job from Kyle Whittingham and this coaching staff, and I love it.
Yeah, it's something I've said before, and I will continue to say, is that no matter what happens, no matter how this season ends, right, whether it's just a bowl game that Utah makes it to, whether you somehow backdoor your way into the college or into the Big 12 championship game, there's a lot to be applauded. There's a lot to love about this, about the bounce back from Utah. Last season ended up being a fluky year. They figure it out, right? They come back and they have this 10-2 win season. Jason Beck's offense is really fun to watch. It's very creative from where it was even a year ago, and so there is a lot to be. I think if you're in that Utah locker room, there's a lot to be proud of. There is a lot to hang your hat on, and again, we'll see where the dominoes fall for Utah. But I think even if you're just a Utah fan, there is a lot to be proud of when it comes to this team, even if you fall short of the goals that you wanted to make it to.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny how the playoff now is changing perceptions of what a season looks like, right? Because before this, I mean, a 10-win season is like, it's celebrated and it goes down as probably one of the better teams in team history, right? One of the better seasons in team history, regardless of the program. Like 10 wins should be celebrated. And then with the playoff, it's like you set your goal on making that. And then if once that becomes, I guess, out of reach, then it's like, oh, yeah, well, we won 10 games and didn't even make it to the playoff. Like, what does it matter? And that's backwards. That's not how it should be looked at. I think, again, hats off to Coach Whittingham and this staff, and because those 2 Pac-12 championship years were like the peak of Utah football. And then the 2 seasons following that were very disappointing, marred by crazy injuries and storylines, and it honestly felt like, okay, is Kyle Whittingham really going to go out like this? Is he going to go out with 2 really bad seasons? And that's why, I mean, he said it so much himself, like he could not go out after last year. He could not walk away after what has happened the last 2 seasons for Utah football. So that's why it was so important for him to come back and kind of rectify that. And reaching 10 wins tells us everything that we need to know. Like, he took this very seriously, and this means a lot to him.
Yeah, I know. And I know it means a lot to the staff, and I'm sure it'll mean a lot to the players too. If this was Kyle Whittingham's last game, if this was Kyle Whittingham's last season, I know that senior class and a lot of those guys in that locker room are going to be happy to send off Kyle Whittingham this way, right? They're going to be proud to send Kyle Whittingham off with the 10-win season, especially after what happened last year. And so I know that there will probably be a chunk of the fan base, a chunk of you. But I think ultimately, again, there's a lot to be proud of, and you take it with with positive thinking, considering where you were last year.
Yeah, and I mean, it really feels good to be watching football, watching winning football again.
Yeah,
is what I should say. So
there you go.
Because, dude, the way like last year was so miserable. I mean, even 2 years ago, like Bryson Barnes gave us some fun moments, right? But it was just miserable. And that's something that I never want to experience in the media again. Like, just the constant, what's going on, what's going to happen, who's going to be a quarterback. And I was a little skeptical when they brought Jason back in, just because it's like, okay, is this going to work? Is it going to be gimmicky? And you bring Beck and Dampier together, and it's been a success. And that's, at the end of the day, it's been that's the best word to wrap it up with. It's been a success.
It's been a success, and I think too, again, with the possibility of it being Kyle Whittingham's final season, with it being the possibility of his final games. Let's go back a couple of years, man. Utah hasn't won a bowl game since oh man, I can't even remember off the top of my head, but it's been a while since Utah's won a bowl game. And so I mean, just take it baby steps, man. Obviously last season you finished 5-7. Your next baby step is winning is getting to the 10-win season, right? Being on the doorstep of making it to a Big 12 championship. But take it again, baby steps, and now your next step can be, hey, if the dominoes don't fall our way, if we somehow don't if you somehow don't backdoor your way into a Big 12 championship game, there's still a bowl game on the line, and send off Kyle Whittingham if it is his last season, right? Send him off with the bowl win, which it feels like Utah hasn't been able to do in a while.
They have not won a bowl game since the Heart of Dallas Bowl.
There you go.
2017.
There you go. See, it's been a minute.
That is ridiculous.
It's been a minute.
That's, I mean, pushing 8 years, I guess. So yeah, that's what it's all about. And look, man, we're not going to know. I don't think going into whatever bowl Utah ends up in this year, I don't think we're going to know if it's Kyle Whittingham's last game. He has said that, I'm going to be here one day and then I won't be the next. And that's the type of guy he is. He doesn't want to go out with a big farewell game and taken away from the game with the storyline of this is Kyle Whittingham's last game.
Taken away from the seniors, taken away from the players. Yeah.
He doesn't want to do that. So I don't know. Last year we knew by the middle of December that Kyle Whittingham was coming back. Obviously they were not in a bowl game last year. So that may change the timeline this year of when we know, but regardless, I would, whenever their season officially wraps, I would expect to know soon after that. And I still, by the way, I still truly think it's a coin flip. Even with how emotional he was last week after the win at Rice-Eccles, I don't feel confident leaning one way or the other. I literally could flip a coin right now and go with whatever it lands on.
Right. And I'm curious too, with the way the new portal set up, with it being one portal. I'm curious to see when the announcement comes, because there's changes in the coaching staff that ultimately ends up leading to another portal opening for your team, another 30-day window for players to leave. So I wonder if they want to try to time that up with just the one portal, so you don't have the possibility of more players leaving when that announcement is made. Yeah.
So we'll see. It's a big decision. Still a long time to go until then, right?
We still got a little bit.
Got a month left until, I guess, the end of bowl season-ish, give or take a few days. So we'll see, man. We'll see. But regardless, Utah has earned themselves a spot in a bowl game, in a really high-profile bowl game at that. I think they're going to be one of the more, I don't know, I've seen Las Vegas Bowl, I've seen Alamo Bowl. Of course, all the projections kind of just throwing darts, but whatever, man. It's been fun. It's been a really fun regular season for the Utah Utes, and there have been a lot of ups, a couple downs, but definitely more ups than downs, right? And
absolutely.
It's been a fun team to break down. So let's take a break real quick. I want to remind everybody we are live right now, 97.5 FM, 1280 AM is currently where you'll find the Utah State Aggies wrapping up their regular season against Boise State. So if you want to hear some Aggie action, go check out the call there. And then we're also on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X. So if you have any thoughts on this game, or on, I guess, looking back, reflecting on Utah's regular season as a whole, let us know, man. Want to get into some of this reaction, because it's been a special year for the Utes. No matter what happens, it's been a really special year. Been a great bounce back season from this staff and this team. So let us know your thoughts, and we'll go ahead and take that break. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. Continue breaking down Utah's win over Kansas. Stick with us. It's the Ute Postgame Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is the Ute Postgame Show on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's your Ute Postgame Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza Alex Napoles, joining me to break down this big Utah win, man. 31-21. Utah gets their 10th win of the season. It was a little shaky. This game was in question for, what do you say, 3.5 of the 4 quarters, maybe 3. But they get it done nonetheless. They get it done. And what could be Kyle Whittingham's last regular season game of the season. I like to make it sound all dramatic like that because it is a big deal. But the big one, obviously, 2 big storylines, right? Defensively, you give up 290 rushing yards, but then you also get 3 takeaways, the 3 interceptions. One of them, obviously, a pick 6. All 3 of those takeaways took points away because Kansas was in field goal position or better, again, on all 3 of those interceptions. So great day for the defense to come up and make big plays when they needed it, but a little too close for comfort.
A little too close for comfort indeed, but I think ultimately, again, at the end of the day, you'll take the win. You'll get to 10 wins, and it was very much a bend but don't break mentality. It was they allowed Kansas to get some yardage. They allowed Kansas to get into scoring positions, but ultimately, in the moments when they needed it most, the defense steps up, makes some big interceptions, and is a big reason as to why Utah is able to pull out the win.
You know what? Daniels he hit some big time throws. Of course, the one to Henderson late in the game, it felt like that put them in a scary position for Utah, right? But
yeah,
all in all, they held Jalen Daniels to 10 of 27 passing, 187 yards, 1 touchdown, and again, the 3 interceptions. So 10 of 27, I want to focus on that. This isn't the first time where Utah has made it really difficult for opposing quarterbacks. If you remember back to the Cincinnati game, Brendan Sorsby, he had one of the worst games of his career. So it's something that we've seen time and time again from this Utah defense, making it hard for the other quarterback.
I made this comment to Sean, our producer, earlier, and I said I was going to say in the pregame show that we did this morning, I was going to say that Jalen Daniels throughout the course of the season, he's actually been pretty good at not turning the ball over. He was actually coming into this one, I think he only had 3 interceptions on the year, and so he'd been pretty good at putting the ball in good spots to not give it away. And then ultimately, he did put the ball in some pretty bad spots today which is great news for Utah. Smith Snowden with a great heads up play on that first one. I think the throw to the end zone, it was not a great throw. Jackson Benny does a good job of seeing it through.
That was weird.
It was a weird play. And then the third interception, the wide receiver isn't even looking. He's still running his route. I think Jalen Daniels just got that ball out way too early. And then again, great heads up play by Scooby Davis to be aware of the situation, and then great blocking too. Lander Barton leading the charge for the Utes on the pick 6, and so all around just great plays from the defense to be able to clamp down that the offense.
So those tight end reps paying off for Barton.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one was a little weird because the running back went out of the backfield. He might have been in motion as well, and it was clear they wanted to get it to him because they were really close to scoring. And I thought it was a good play design. It's a good play call, and Daniels let it go really early, and the running back wasn't even looking, and just 2 guys not on the same page, man. And that's again, even going to the Benny interception, 2 guys not on the same page. The wide receiver cut in, Daniels threw it out. I think he thought he was throwing it out of bounds and just didn't throw it as hard as he needed to. And Benny was able to get in, and it was funny because he tiptoed, but he had like a foot of space in between him and the sideline. He had quite a bit of room, but 3 huge, I shouldn't even say big, huge interceptions for Utah. Getting back to the offensive side, a big day from the tight ends. J.J. Buchanan, 2 huge catches for 65 yards and a touchdown. Dallin Bentley also getting involved, 4 catches for 29 yards. And then Larry Simmons, of course, 3 catches, 97 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including the go-ahead score to, I guess they were up at that point already, but the dagger, I guess, to really the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah. I think when it comes to the tight end position, I want to give a lot of credit to Dallin Bentley, because that was an area of concern for me coming into this season. Because it didn't necessarily feel like you had that that Brant Keithy threat. It didn't feel like you had that Dalton Kincaid threat. But Dallin Bentley stepped up into that role and has done a phenomenal job throughout the course of the season. I can't say enough good things about J.J. Buchanan, a true freshman coming in. And he's late in the season. He's establishing himself in this offense. He's come up with some really big plays over the course of since the bye week, really, since the loss to BYU, really. Actually, JJ Buchanan's had some massive plays, and I think that JJ Buchanan is also one of the guys that I'm looking at for Utah to really rely on the next couple of years and to establish himself as the next Dalton Kincaid threat, as the next Brant Keithy threat, because I feel like he does have that skill set. To be a similar tight end to what we saw those guys be so successful for Utah over the course of the last couple of years.
I really like Buchanan, man. I think, and again, only a freshman, right? So, yeah, you give this kid some time to grow, and I think he could end up being a really big play threat. He never had more than 3 catches in a game this year, but a couple games, as you mentioned, especially down the stretch, as he continues to learn and grow. 41 yards, 74 yards, and then 65 yards to close out the season. He's a big dude. He's huge, and he's got a big catch radius. I like it. And Utah's had good success with their tight ends as of late, some really special players coming out of this program. Of course, I'd be ridiculous to say that, yeah, he is for sure going to be the next Dalton Kincaid, but like that's the template that Utah has laid down. So
yeah,
I like it.
He certainly has a high ceiling, and again, I think now that you're moving into the off season, you have to start focusing on player retention and as well as recruiting your own guys. That's one of those guys that I think Utah definitely has to really put some effort into keeping. I'm not saying that there's offers for him or anything or potential, but I mean there's going to be. Because he's a freshman, because he has a high ceiling, there possibly could be some offers to try to come prime away. And so I think he's one of those guys that I'm looking at and saying, this is a guy that needs to stick around for Utah.
Yeah, and I mean not just him, but you look at Daniel Bray and Bird Ficklin. That's 3 freshmen right there that have all done a lot for this Utah offense. So yeah, you would think that. Of course, the decision between Ficklin and Devin Dampier is going to be the main storyline for the offseason. If you're Utah, you'd like to hold on to all 3 of those young guys, because I think if you give them all time, again, to grow, plus Wayshawn Parker's only a sophomore, dude, like this team was good this year. They won 10 games, and a lot of their talent was really young. Like it makes me just wonder, like what can this core look like in another year or two if they keep this up. So a lot of young, exciting talent for the Utes. And then, yes, you do hope you can hold on to all of it, because we know that Utah doesn't have some of the funds that some of these other Big 12 teams do, especially the ones towards the top of the conference in Texas Tech and BYU. But I think Utah might have a little more to play with than people realize initially. So we'll see. We'll see how they choose to distribute that. DJ and PK were talking this morning about going and landing like big time transfers on the offensive line, because that's been so important for them this season. I don't know. We'll see. I think they're excited about some of the development of these guys that have been behind this offensive line for the last 2 years. I mean, all 5 of these starters have started every game of the last 2 seasons. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So what kind of talent do they have behind them? I trust that Harding has been developing guys to get them ready for next year. So whatever money you can save in the portal, I guess, to put towards keeping your own guys, you got to do it, because I think this is a pretty special crop of talent for the Utes.
Yeah, you mentioned it. There's the possibility of a really good core developing right before our eyes with a bunch of the freshmen you named off, with Wayshawn Parker being a sophomore. Player retention, I think, is going to be massive for Utah this upcoming offseason. Of course, retaining the coaching staff, right? There's a lot of positions opening up, and you never know who might come calling for Jason Beck. And I think holding on to Jason Beck, I think is going to be a massive key as well heading into this offseason. Retention, I think, will be huge for Utah, considering how young this team is, considering some of the ceilings that you see in some of these guys, man.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about, and with the one transfer window now, I do wonder how that's going to affect things. And then, yeah, if, as you kind of brought up, like the last thing you would want is a coaching change to happen and then a bunch of players leave because you get an extra window. So I think that was a great point by you. Maybe trying to time it up with that one portal window in like mid-January, I think is when it is. So that might be a smart idea. If a decision is made, or maybe Whittingham had so much fun this year, he decides to run it back. I wouldn't be shocked, man. I really wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. I think I'm on the same boat as you. And it sounds like Bartle's kind of on the same boat as well. Our Utah Ute insider Steve Bartle is right now. It really feels like it could go either way. He could stay. He could end up retiring. I think that's probably. There's a lot of big storylines, I feel like, for Utah heading into this offseason. How are they going to build off of a 10-win season? How are they going to build off of that success? And I think a lot of it starts with one, the retirement of Coach Whittingham. Does it happen? Does it not? Two, what does the future look like for Jason Beck? And three, of course, is going to be player retention. How much of that core can you keep from heading into that portal?
Yeah. I do want to get back to talking about this game in specifically a little bit. Bird Ficklin, I think, with one of his worst games especially as of late, just considering the bar that he has set, right? The standard that he had set coming into this one. He lost the fumble late in the third quarter, only finished with, I think, what was it, 7 rushing yards? 2 carries for 7 yards and a lost fumble. Before this, he had been on an absolute tear. Of course, 151 rushing yards versus Colorado, 166 versus Baylor, 54 last week with 3 touchdowns. And then, today just 2 carries for 7 yards. And I don't know. I mean, you're going to get inconsistent play from young guys. And I know we were just talking about how excited Utah would be to hold on to him. So I do want to make sure that is the point that is taken away. Like he has a very high ceiling. It was a little discouraging today for him to have his worst game of the year on a day when Utah could have used him, because they were kind of struggling to move the ball on the ground. They definitely could have used some of that explosive ability that he has shown. And instead you get the lost fumble, which Utah still won, but that easily could have been the turning point of the game. I mean, if they don't get the pick 6, you pointed that fumble is like, okay, that's where the game was lost.
Yeah. And it felt like in the first half, it felt like there was moments where I was kind of waiting to see Bird. I was waiting to see Bird Ficklin come in and make one of those big runs, right? Make one of those electric runs that we saw him do on the road against Baylor, and it potentially could have been potentially could have came in and sparked that offense. Especially in that second quarter, and maybe even in the early parts of the third quarter. But then you get the fumble, and you don't really see Bird after that. And obviously I wonder how much the fumble plays into that. But it did feel like there was a sprinkle of Bird Ficklin that this game was missing. So it is a little bit discouraging to see him have his worst performance here in the final game of the season. But I don't think that takes away from anything that we saw from Bird and what the production that he was able to put up throughout the course of the season.
All right. I got to preface this with that I'm joking, because sometimes people don't pick that up. So this is a joke. Do you think that Dampier threw the ball so much and Bird Ficklin didn't run the ball to lower their value in the transfer portal?
Hey, you know what, man? It very, very well could be. Very well could be. Again,
no, in all seriousness, like you gotta. Dampier had a nice day on the ground. Give the ball to Wayshawn Parker. Give the ball to Bird Ficklin. I don't understand why they changed things up so much when they clearly had a recipe that was putting up 50 points a game in 4 of their last 5. I don't get it. I don't get why today you look so different. That's peculiar.
And I can't even credit it or say that it was they favored a passing game because they were chasing the game, because even though they were down 10-14, man, it really never felt like Utah was chasing this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
exactly.
never felt like you're out of it, so you have to throw the ball, because of the way the defense was turning the ball over, because of the red zone stops and the trips that Kansas was making to the red zone with had nothing to show for it, and the opportunities that Kansas had nothing to show for it. It never really felt like Utah was chasing this game, and so it felt like because you're not chasing a game, you can still focus on establishing your run game. You can still focus on running the ball the way that you have been the last couple of weeks, really since that Colorado game, but there was still the tendency to favor the passing game, which again I got to give credit to Larry Simmons, man. Love what we've seen from Larry Simmons over the course of the last 2 weeks. Right, he has the amazing touchdown catch in the corner of the end zone. Has a very, very similar one this game to extend the lead for Utah. And then, of course, has the big one at the end to score a second touchdown of the game. So a lot of credit to Larry Simmons and Devin Dampier for making those plays. But it never felt like Utah was chasing the game. So it was curious to see them kind of favor the passing a little bit more than they were favoring the run the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I don't know, letting the young guys shine, I guess. But we'll see what it looks like, I guess, when they have, I guess, pretty much a month off, and then whatever bowl game they're playing in, assuming they don't make Arlington the Big 12 championship. You never know. Maybe they do have to play next week.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. That's a weird spot to be in right now.
It is a weird spot. It's you're playing the waiting game if you're kind of Wingham the Utes, and I'm sure that there's fingers crossed in the locker room right now for those dominoes to fall their way, so they have that chance to make it to Arlington, and they have that chance to play the Big 12 championship, or to play for a spot in the college football playoff. But regardless of what happens, again, a great season for Utah, just all around.
Reminder, for Utah to make the Big 12 championship, it still is possible, right? You're depending on 3 games. You need Texas Tech, first of all, to lose on the road at West Virginia. You need Arizona State to beat Arizona. Arizona State is at home, by the way. And then you need Utah at home to beat UCF. Arizona State plays tonight at 7, by the way. The other games are tomorrow. So those are the 3 games you need to keep an eye on. If somehow all 3 of those things go the way Utah needs, then they'd be finding themselves in Arlington against BYU in a Holy War rematch. So could be a very fun end to the season. Again, not super likely, but you got to sit and watch and cross your fingers and hope that there's some chaos going your way, because it's happened before. And that's the other thing I want to point out. It has happened before. That's how Utah got their second Pac-12 championship. And
that's right.
It seemed like when it first came out, like, we're not mathematically eliminated, this is all what needs to happen, everybody kind of scoffed and was like, it's not going to happen. And then it did. So you never know.
Then it did. And then, of course, you win back-to-back Pac-12 championships, taking down USC, man. You never really know, and I don't think there is a single person in the state of Utah tonight that isn't going to be watching that Arizona State-Arizona game. I think the entire state of Utah will be watching, because there's a lot riding on the line, not only for Utah but for BYU as well. Of course, an Arizona State loss tonight wraps it up. An Arizona State loss tonight clinches for Texas Tech, clinches for BYU. So there is a lot riding on that game, and it is a weird spot to be in when you just kind of have to sit back and see where things land at the end at the full time of that game.
Texas Tech and BYU both play at 10 a.m. tomorrow, by the way. That West Virginia team, they've kind of shown a little something. I don't want to talk myself into them beating Texas Tech, but it's dangerous, man. It is.
Yeah. It is dangerous. You look at the line, though, and I think
what is the line? What is it, 17.5?
I saw it earlier this week, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. I'm gonna have to pull it up real quick. It is 23.5 for Texas Tech.
Gosh.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll have to be a major, massive upset for that domino to fall, right, for the Utes. But it is still on the line. But again, one game at a time, one step at a time. Tonight, Arizona State. Everybody in Utah, everybody in the state of Utah is going to be watching that game, and that will be the first domino.
Yeah, one game at a time. You're right.
There you go.
Let's take another break. We're still awaiting post-game sound. Not quite sure if we're going to get to it or not. Sometimes it's hard to get it from these road games. So we'll see if we can, but hoping for that to come up soon. Stick with us. It's the Ute Post-Game Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is the Ute Postgame Show on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back in, everybody. It's the Ute Postgame Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza Alex Napoles, joining me to break down Utah's 31-21 win at Kansas. Careful there, buddy. Wrapping up their season with win number 10, which is very special. I'm going through, trying to see how many 10-win seasons Kyle Whittingham has had. It's not uncommon, right? Had a few, of course, 13-0 in 2008, and then a couple 10-win seasons after that, but that's counting bowl games. 10-win regular seasons, though, don't come along all that often. I think it's only happened like 2 or 3 times, maybe 4. I'd have to go back and look harder, trying to multitask here. But essentially win number 10, no matter what happens as far as the Big 12 championship, no matter what happens as far as the college football playoff. A lot of people are going to be disappointed in the next coming weeks because those two things probably won't happen. But I do think it's really important to remember, like, a 10-win regular season is something to celebrate.
It is something to celebrate. Again, I mean, just comparing it to last season, it feels like now Utah can use this as a jumping point, right? Can use this as a platform of saying, hey, I know last season we were projected to win this conference, it didn't work out that way. This season was a great way to kind of bounce back and come back and establish ourselves. And now, and I feel like, again, for Utah, that is a great platform to jump off of and say, look, this is what you can expect from Utah in the Big 12. Last season was a fluke. Last season, it was injury ridden. The quarterback situation, right? Everybody remembers everything from last season. Maybe not, but it is a great platform to now jump off and say, hey, this is the Utah that you can expect in the Big 12 going forward.
Right. And I think that's the big angle, because only winning 5 games last year, there were questions about Utah's spot in the Big 12. And everybody locally knew that's not really what Utah football is. Those 5 wins don't represent this program. And you can't really say the same thing about everybody outside of the state. Some of these Big 12 teams just learning Utah for the first time, because there were the talks about, a lot of Utah fans would have preferred the Big 10, obviously, and we're going to run the Big 12 and all that talk. And then Big 12 fans were really happy that Utah only won 5 games last year, because they had kind of put that target on their back. But the reality is what Kyle Whittingham has built this program up into, and hopefully what Morgan Scalley can continue doing when it is his time to take over, is a program that is going to be at the top of the conference, no matter what league they're in. Yeah. Right. Whether that's the Pac-12 or the Big 12. And these guys are heavy hitters. And we know that last year was fluky. We know the year before was fluky. And so that's why it was so important for them to come in this year and kind of prove to the rest of the conference, rest of these other teams, like, no, we're a team that you have to take seriously. We're a team that's going to finish towards the top of the league most years.
Yeah. And I feel like it makes a massive difference too, right? If it was a 10-win season where you're squeaking away 3-point wins, when you're squeaking away ways to win with the offense not putting up the production that they did, it's a different conversation. But it is the fact that Utah in the offseason went in and basically revitalized this offense. You bring in a new offensive coordinator, you bring a bunch of transfers, and you recreate what we know as this Utah offense. And I think it's huge, right? Before heading into this game, heading into this week, Utah's the 6th highest scoring offense in the entire country. And again, I feel like it is a platform to jump off of when you're having that type of success on offense. And when you're able to put up points the way that you have this season, it is a great building block. It is a great building foundation of, again, what potentially Utah could be able to do down the road in the Big 12 and down the future. They're putting themselves up in a position where, again, you don't potentially make a Big 12 championship this season, and that's okay, because you've now built a foundation and you've built an offense that can lead to a lot more success down the road for Utah.
6, by the way. 6 there you go. 10-win regular seasons for Kyle Whittingham during his 20 years at Utah. So that's pretty great, man. That's again, like it's not up there with like the Sugar Bowl team and things like that, and the those crazy special teams that are going to go down as some of the best Utah teams of all time. But it's definitely a tier right below those guys, where it's like, okay, you look at what they did in the regular season, consistently blowing teams out, right? Really, these last 2 games were the only wins of the year that were close for Utah. And their only losses of the year came to 2 really, really good football teams in BYU and Texas Tech. And those games were close for the most part. So again, this season is going to go down, whether or not it's Kyle Whittingham's last. This season is going to be remembered because it is kind of that stepping point, proving, it's a Power 4 league. I know the Pac-12 was as well, but it's a new world of college football, and they're showing, at least right now, that they deserve to stick around, because there's a lot of worry. I mean, Kyle Whittingham has even talked about it himself when inevitably conference realignment does come again. There are a lot of well-known schools that are going to be left behind if they haven't proved that they can hang right now. Like tradition, what happened in the 90s doesn't matter right now. You need to prove that you can bring value today in this new world. And that's why it's so important for Utah to do what they've done this season. And
to that sense, right, and thinking about stuff like that, it's a different conversation if Utah, again, let's say they go 6-6 this year, after having a 5-7 season last season, right? We're getting into some that hypothetical, but if Utah were to go 6-6 this year, it's really easy for whatever the future of college football looks like to look at Utah and say, oh well, they're not the Utah of old. They're not the Utah that was successful in the Pac-12. There's no reason for that to even be a consideration. But I feel like with what Kyle Whittingham's done the last couple of years, with what Kyle Whittingham has been able to do in establishing Utah in the Pac-12, and now what I'm sure this Utah program will hope to be considered establishing themselves in this Big 12 conference now, that bodes well for the future of Utah, for the brand of Utah, and whatever the future of college football is going to be.
You know what? The W's are going to make people want to donate money.
It matters, man. It matters. Having a 10-win season, right, comparative to a 7-win season, right? I feel like even having that 10 next to your name does well for recruiting. Winning matters, and it matters when it comes to recruiting. It matters when it comes to, again, the future of college football.
This is kind of like no duh, but I mean, I feel a hell of a lot better than Utah right now than I did a year ago. Recruiting wise and NIL wise and money wise, and I don't know what the financials look like. Nobody does, but after a 5-7 season, it's like, okay, nobody wants to donate money to a losing football team. Of course, you've got fundraisers that are going to go out there and get it done, but it makes it a way easier when you're like, yeah, we just proved that we can put those funds, whatever funds we do get, we put it to good use. It's not going to waste.
Yeah.
We just turned out a 10-win regular season, and this is what's going to continue to happen if you continue to donate money. So it's a big deal for those fundraisers, for those people that donate and the boosters and everything like that, because again, it's the new world, man. You need that in 2025 to keep up in college football, especially in this conference with some of the dogs that you're playing with. Of course, Texas Tech, the big story, but some of these other schools, man, have pretty good avenues to money, and Utah may not have some of those other, I guess, ties to like big known wealthy boosters, but I think there are enough people that want to give money to this program, that want to give, I guess, valuable money, not just a couple bucks, but some big time donations. I think there's enough for Utah to make it work, and that's always what they've done, right? They've never been one of the top recruiting schools in the country. Even in the Pac-12, they weren't. Why would you choose Utah over going to play at USC or Oregon or some of those other schools? So it's always been tough for Utah, but they've stretched their dollar better than anybody else has, and they're always going to have to do that, but it makes it easier, again, when you have 10 wins in one regular season.
It is crazy that this is where we're at with college football. It is crazy that this is where we've gone to, but the reality is it's almost like a marketing ploy. It's almost like a marketing scheme, right? How are you going to present your brand to the donors? How are you going to present your brand? Right. I feel like it's a lot easier to go now and present yourself as a 10-win team, and show that off to people who want to invest into this program and then want to put some money in towards your NIL, versus where you were last season, where maybe it's a little bit harder to justify and show your quote unquote profits when you have a 5-win season, right? And so it does make a difference. Winning matters, man, and it does make a difference when you're able to say, hey, this is a 10-win team. We can do X, we can do this, and this to make it an 11-win team, to make it a better team, to make it a championship contending team, and be able to present that as your marketing this offseason versus where you were last season.
Now the regular season is over. As we mentioned, Utah keeping their eye on a couple other teams in the conference, rooting for some chaos, but more than likely they're going to be playing a bowl game in late December. Seen a lot of projections that, Alamo Bowl would be really fun in a potential BYU matchup. That would be, I think, what I would want the most. Las Vegas Bowl also talked about a lot if they do miss out on that spot in the Alamo Bowl. So we'll see what they end up doing. But, I mean, it's good to know that the season's not over, right? Like, no matter what happens this week, even if things don't break your way, still got another game left in a month. And that's always fun to think about, to know that you still have some extra football to play.
Again, and you go back to what we're talking about with the Heart of Dallas Bowl, right? That being your last bowl game win.
2017.
time to do something about that, Utah. Time to go out there and be able to get a bowl win. I think again that would be a massive step in the right direction for Utah. That would be a phenomenal way to cap off what has been a successful season. And of course, with the lingering question of is this Kyle Whittingham's last season? If it does end up being that way, what it would be, I think, a fantastic way to send off your longtime successful head coach.
That's I think the biggest storyline left is, we're going to be watching every single little thing that Kyle Whittingham does. Is he doing this thing differently? Like, is he shedding a tear in this pregame speech? We'll see, man.
Right, exactly.
It's been a fun year for Witt and these Utes, man. It's been a fun squad. Let's wrap the show up. I don't think we're going to get to post-game sound again with the road games. That makes it tough to get the audio. Steve Bartow's going to post that to YouTube soon, relatively soon, and then we'll have that posted on the podcast feed as well at University of Utah Sound. You can go find Whittingham and whatever players speak. But as tradition for us here on the Ute postgame show, offensive and defensive MVP of the game, man.
Offensive MVP. I'm help me out with this one, Christian, because I think I'm kind of stuck between JJ Buchanan and Larry Simmons.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd say Simmons. I think it would go to him because of the highlight catch. I mean, look, JJ Buchanan had a nice touchdown, but that was a catch and run. Like, you should be scoring there. I think Simmons had one of the highlight plays of the year with that catch. I think and then, putting the game away with the dagger. I think you got to go with Simmons there.
Larry Simmons will be the offensive MVP and the defensive MVP. Elijah Scooby Davis for the pick six, man. That really shifted momentum and really turned the tide Utah's way. And I think really kind of put this game away. I obviously get the touchdowns later, but massive play from Scooby Davis.
Yeah, it was nice because, again, like that was the third time into the end zone where it was like, okay, into the red zone, I should say, where Kansas was threatening to score, and Utah was able to get a big INT to take points away from Kansas. But from Scooby, not only did they take points away, they put some points up on their end. So great play from him. And, that's going to be, looking back on him, one of his better plays is right? And especially after what happened a couple weeks ago against Baylor, getting ejected from that game. You didn't want his season to end on kind of a sour note like that. So it's nice for him to kind of turn around and put a better memory into people's minds.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to put it. You have that play now for people to remember you by rather than what happened down in Baylor.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, that does it for us here on the Ute Post Game Show. Stay tuned tomorrow morning, College Football Saturday. As always, we will go 10 to noon. The BYU game starts at 10. Or no, that's at 11. Anyways, so yeah, we'll do the show from 10 to noon as normal. And then you got Texas Tech playing at 10 and then Arizona State tonight at 7. So those are the three games you're going to want to watch as a Ute fan. Hoping to make that Big 12 championship. And then we'll see what happens with the College Football Playoff Committee.
We'll see. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, I just want to give a big thank you to everybody who listened, everybody who tuned in, everybody who came and was a part of the Ute Postgame show with us throughout the course of the season. Obviously, we'll probably do this one more time when that bowl game or when that information comes out. But just from me and Christian, from Sean and from Alma, who've all jumped on and done all this, thank you to everybody for tuning in.
Well put. I agree.
Yeah, there you go, man.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy holiday season. And thanks for watching. It's been the Ute Postgame Show, 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone.